Well, this is becoming increasingly frustrating. Are you really gonna keep us throwing us into great despair? Yes, we get it already. Shura is an unforgivable character. Just destroy him already! I'm actually losing my patience here, and that is not something that usually happens in a Hiro Mishima manga. I guess it's because I just do not like this feeling of despair. If this arc ends and we end it on a happy note, then I will probably say it's one of the best arcs, but if it doesn't, then I will complain. But this is indeed the Eden Zero chapter 162, and half of it is a little bit of the ziggy and Nero fight. And mind you, fight is actually not so bad. And it's actually more surprising of the fact that Ziggy takes a huge amount of damage this time. You know what, guys? If it weren't for the fact that we still have, what is it, three more Orations says Galactica to see, I would almost wonder, is this the final arc of the manga? Because there's so much endgame stuff happening. That makes me a bit worried of it all. But again, as I said before, it's a little bit worrisome that despite being the main bad guy, Ziggy takes a whole lot of damage here. The way you could say that as maybe he is not so strong as we thought, or maybe it's just that Nero is stronger than we thought. By the way, we also see all the deceased people that are dead. Jaguar has once again returned to his normal form, so yeah, he is probably dead. I actually think also that, Fabiano is also dead. But the fight starts with Ziggy crumbling the castle and throws him up in the skies as he begins to fight. Uh, and we also get a little bit more insight on the complexity and twistedness of Nero's character. As I said before, he was not as benevolent as one could say, because he seems to be driven by his pure sense of ego or something like that. But it turns out that his ego-ness is a little bit more, well, I don't want to say complicated, but it is also still a little bit more complicated than you think. First of all, the most exciting thing about this reveal, though, is that this Emperor dice that he has been talking about non-stop, it is actually not his ether gear. The Emperor dice are just that, Emperor dice. Mythical artifacts that Ziggy implies may actually have come from Mother. Either way, these bullets are actually so strong that they can pierce through Ziggy, and Ziggy's gravity do not affect it because it's a mythical artifact. Uh, it's or relics, as Nero calls them, relics that assured his victory. And even though, although there is not exactly 100% sure confirmed if the dice do come from Mother, because Nero himself just calls it some relic possesses singularly mythical powers, and the dice are one such relic. But given the fact that he calls them relic, and given to the fact that Mother's Claribonia could, clean off Red Cave, maybe it is really a Mother-like ability. Also, there's some mighty interesting thing here, is that Ziggy's gravity is not affecting these relics. And if these relics are from Mother, do you know what that implies? That implies that the power of Mother is unaffected by the power of ether gears. And I will get to that point in a later on. But as Nero has constantly said this whole saga, he built the empire on these dice. And his victory always came with a price. His friends, his family, and his people, which probably implies that he's the last of his kind. But all in all, but through all of this, he has always been victorious. So yeah, this is really a twisted sense, since he acknowledges that he had to sacrifice a lot of things to, win, but he still did it because he will always win. But Ziggy just calls it dumb and just throws a ship at him. And for the first time, Nero actually got a little bit more nervous looking as Ziggy gets in more close combat, and even manages to combat the dice come complete. It's during this time, though, that Nero begins to show his triumph card, or so should I say. He also confirms that the dice did predict that he would lose his empire, but the price, which is the price he would pay. But in exchange, he would kill ziggy, and so his ether gear activates, and we do not see how it is, but we do see that he is actually more muscular than his elderly form has made us to believe. It's not exactly known yet what his ether gear does, but it seems to form some kind of dark mist. The rest of this, though, is just Shura and Shiki, which is actually some very strange of it all. Shura's twisted thing is the fact that Shiki just wonders, does life matters not to you? And well, Shura pulls that twisted sense that, what about me? Does my life carry no weight in your mind? And of course Shiki cannot answer. But none of that actually means nothing, especially when Shura just keeps on taunting Shiki about the fact that he wanted to keep Witch as a pet. So, in a way, you could say that, yes, this is reverse psychology, because he's trying to challenge Shiki's all-lovingness by saying that, does not my life matters at all? But it's the fact that I wouldn't want to say, no, Shura, your life matters not a single bit, because you throw away everything besides yourself. So Shiki enters his overdrive form, but here comes the real upset part of this chapter. Shura blocks an attack, because he too had overdrive. There have been some complaints in the community that this overdrive is so underexplained. It is supposed to be a true power of the ether gears, yet at the same time it seems that sometimes it's a contradiction. Because when Shiki entered the overdrive against Draken's mutated overdrive, he eventually won. But here, when Shura enters his overdrive, he is the one who is eventually winning. When, by the way, despite having the same ether gear, his overdrive form is a lot different than Shiki's, which once again also creates that mystery. Just what in the ever-living hell does overdrive reflect? I have a theory about that, but either way, in his overdrive form, Shura loses the shirt completely and strangely gets octopus-like hair, just as his adopted father. Which, by the way, he calls him a monster, which is kind of ironic coming from him. But in this form, his gravity is so powerful that he actually pulls out Shiki's eyes. Or is it one eye? I don't really know. But the chapter ends there, and that is an extremely big upset for me. Come the frick on! Yes, defeat him already! Stop giving all this overpowered bullshit and all that stuff. It's so annoying, and that's saying something. So I had some kind of theory of it all. Let's see if I can remember these theories. First of all, I mentioned the power of a relic that may or may not come from Mother seems to be unaffected by gravity, or in this case, ether gear power. You know, there has been a very big theory that goes around that maybe Shiki is somehow related to Mother. And of course, if he is related to Mother, the biggest complaint to a lot of people will be, then why didn't he enter that power when he was in Draken? Note, this is not confirmed yet. This is just headcanon theory-like crap. So what I'm trying to say here is that I don't know, but I hope Xiao Mei would explain that if that wouldn't be the case. But if you ask me, I would have learned to believe that even if Shiki was related to Mother and have a powerful new form related to Mother, if he had entered it in Draken form, place in the old world, I think he would have gone on a rampage. But this is all theory speculating. What I'm trying to say here is that if Shiki is related to Mother and had that power, then maybe that is the key to defeat Shura, because now his gravity is so powerful that he actually pulled out the eyes of Shiki. So please don't tell me that Shiki is now permanently blind. Please tell me which can heal that, because I don't want a handicapped hero. But yeah, that is a cruelty that I didn't even see coming, not even from that thing. So yeah, it is surprising to say the least. And what was the second thing? Oh yeah, about that overdrive thing. As I said before, Shura's overdrive looks a lot like his adopted father, while Shiki's look a lot like his adopted grandfather. And while we do not have so much other ether gears to go around on, what I'm trying to say here, is it possible that overdrive not only reflects the true power of the ether gear, but also the true personality, what they hold deep down? Maybe that because Shura is modeling, is getting hits after Poseidon Nero, because in the end he wants to become Poseidon Nero. And Shiki's overdrive that makes him look like a true Demon King is because he is a Demon King. And Wise's Machina Maker makes him look more like a machine because he has pipes out way, because he is a Machina Maker. Only Homura's is a little bit more difficult to say. She looks like a Kitsune. Granted, however, she came from a place that is based on Japan, and Kitsune is a very big folklore in that place, so maybe that is that fact. And also Klein and Chris's. Chris's looks like a Tengu, sort of thing. But as I said this in that review. Klein's reminds me a lot of an angel to represent the fact that her soul and her heart is pure, while Chris Jin's looks more darkened, like a Tengu, perhaps to say that he was once a fallen angel. So is Overdrive meant to reflect what the true personality is feeling inside, or something like that? Again, this is all just headcanon. Just like in the thing I said about the Shiki being related to mother. But yeah, the chapter ended pretty frustrating now that Shura could pull out the eyes of Shiki. What he's gonna pull out next, the arms and everything like that. He says the all-link is almost there. Please, Rebecca, hurry. Please defeat this before despair wins. Oh yeah, and also... But yeah, the ziggy and the Nero fight was actually more effective. People have been sleeping on Nero, but he is surprisingly more powerful than people give him credit for. And he even had an own ether gear. But the relics, yeah. I really hope they will become more relevant. Give me your thoughts if you have any.